Okay, so here are my brutally honest thoughts on the state of Overwatch Classic, or well, just a review of the current Overwatch Classic, the one with the MOTH meta going around. DPS Doom is back, Sombra is in, Orisa, Orisa's in as well. Anna's gotten her nerfs at the time, etc., etc., all that type of stuff. So with that being said, let's get started with the video. I don't know what it is. I cannot praise this test or revisit into the classic. Now I understand if the initial launch version of Overwatch Classic was buggy, floaty, and laggy or very heavy, but I can swear on my life that Overwatch didn't play like this way back in the day. I actually have VODs on my external hard drive somewhere in my room where like I was rewatching it last week with a couple of my mates. So like we were just looking at the way we played the game back in the day and how it's playing now, and I can swear to you this is not how Overwatch played back in the day. And I came to a conclusion when I was actually playing DPS Doomfist. When I played Genji, I played Mercy as well. Like a lot of their movement felt so heavy, floaty, almost as if like after every little action you do, there's like a very tiny minuscule lag or something that kind of like rubber bands you in place for like a millisecond. Like when you play the mode, you kind of feel it, right? Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but do you guys feel it? Because I don't know if this is a case where it's not ping. I can guarantee you that it's not ping. Because I've always played on 100 plus ping and 100 like to 150 170 ping, but there was something else in there that I felt like the game feels so slow, and it didn't feel like this back in the day. So what I did was I actually opened up my VODs on the side, and I was rewatching some of the VODs we had from our scrim group way back in the MOTH meta. And I can't necessarily share that without permission, so if I do get permission, you'll see that in the VOD, like in the video in front of you, like that you're watching. If not, then it just means I didn't get a response, so you'll probably see like my own generic gameplay. But I might actually do a live stream review of this at some point, where I can swear the game didn't play like this in MOTH meta. Because I like MOTH meta back, I played and I was grinding it like crazy. Genji didn't have the camera lock during MOTH meta. I remember this very much because that was the time where Necros made that like ghost dashing clip so popular. That was around the time like everybody was starting to get better at Genji and all the plays were being made. And you have the clip from Agilities from what was it, the Overwatch World Cup or Overwatch League, where he did the multi dash and slash combos and the camera never locked, and that was during a MOTH meta. And I'm losing my mind because I'm like, why is there like most of the mobility, if you play Mercy, even when you play Mercy and you use a shift, there's like this weird lag that just like holds you in place. I like, yes, her movement was much clunkier and less smooth back in the day, but it didn't feel like this. It felt like every time you do a movement ability, initially when you lift yourself off the ground that you're on, there's like a little millisecond of lag or something just heavy, like as if it's trying to hold you down. Then like you do the actual mobility, and then it reverts back to you stopping, and then there's another millisecond of lag to like confirm your placement, and then go from there. And I think I can come to the conclusion that I think these classic patches, they're not being made or are a revisit to the patches that were there before. They're being made in the workshop, and if that's the case, that's actually kind of depressing. Because like how is a company like Blizzard making patches on their workshop to put in the game? And if that is the case, why can't they do like community creations where they showcase the workshop, so there's actually something interesting to play from a popularity perspective that's being pushed forward, that hey, by the way, you can gain some more XP playing the community creations. There's so many things that like I wish they could be doing better, because tomorrow's video is going to be talking about what Overwatch could be doing better going forward, because like nobody in the community is talking about, well, what can Overwatch do to get better. So I will come out with a video tomorrow and talk about that. But right now we need to talk about the brutally honest state of Overwatch Classic. And right now I'm not like, as much as I'm having fun with it, I'm also not having fun with it, because every character that I try to play, and I mostly play the mobile characters, it just kind of feels like it doesn't feel smooth. And when I look back at the gameplay that was there before, that's online, like people have hours and hours of footage out there, it like the game didn't play like this, which is like I feel like it's like when you load into a workshop code and the custom games and you feel that weird floatiness and everything, you're like, ah, okay, it's a workshop mode, something's wrong with the server, something wrong with this or that. It makes sense, right? So that like that's the conclusion I came to. It has this like weird heaviness from the workshop that really holds back the enjoyment. Now let's talk about some of the grand standouts. We need to talk about Sombra, we need to talk about Orisa, we need to talk about Doomfist. Now I've played a couple of them. I don't have that much footage because sadly I wasn't recording at the time, but I can certainly give my takes on them and the way they are now. I think Orisa was the one that stood out to me the most, playing against her, playing with her, etc. I think Orisa's original kit really did bring a different style of gameplay to Overwatch, and I feel like that being lost is kind of sad. I think Orisa, like, if you take her, assuming we're staying in 5v5, by the way, if we were to stay in 5v5, I think Orisa having the bunker playstyle with a weakened shield and a weakened fortify to enable a bunker as comp would be very interesting if her halt stayed around, where you can pull people in, and well, her fortify is remaining, which is boring, right? I think what you could do is maybe you could remove fortify and give her javelin spin. I think that would be a healthier thing to have. And then the ultimate, you give her the ultimate from the 5v5, because that ultimate is just so much more fun to use than, okay, well, I just press a button and everybody gets a damage boost, and it's the most like underwhelming ultimate in the game, right next to Mercy's Valk, right? So I mean, that's why, like, Orisa retake, like looking at Orisa now, looking at Orisa then, I feel like there's a middle ground of where we can bring these two Orisas together and have fun with it. You know what would be so funny? If the next game breaking thing in Overwatch is that you can select different abilities and different like loadouts for your characters depending on the situation. That would actually be so funny. And now watch me actually predict that. Watch me actually predict that they're going to give us ability selections along with the Junkenstein's lab in the upcoming Overwatch spotlight video 10 days from now, which is going to be hilarious, right? Other things to comment upon, DPS Doom. I think DPS Doom is a very big standout. Even 𝐒𝐈𝐊𝐶 talked about this. This doesn't feel like DPS Doom. Even when DPS Doom initially came out, he was my second most played character back in the day, other than Genji and Hanzo, who I played with relatively the same playtime. This isn't like, he feels so weird. Like, it doesn't, like, his uppercut doesn't behave the way it's meant to behave with a lot of the different interactions that people were used to. The E doesn't have the sound effect that plays when, like, it's charging up the E damage as you're about to land. It just feels like there's so much missing. I'm almost inclined to believe that this game mode was rushed. I'm not going to lie. I almost am fully inclined to believe that this game mode was rushed, because there's no way it feels this heavy and clunky, right? And the same thing with Genji. If you play Genji right now in the Overwatch Classic, when you try to do the dash and you try to do the turns, there's this like terrible camera lock, and this camera lock was not there. And not just that, like with Cassidy, if you do the roll, it's like when you end the roll, there's like just this heaviness. It's crazy, man. I don't know what it is with the state of the actual, you know, build, or like what they built it upon, but like I came to the conclusion that I think it's rushed. I think it needed a lot of ironing out to make sure the gameplay is smooth. I don't know if maybe they did it on purpose as a way to make it look like, oh, see how much more smoother the game is now? Because like I don't want to believe that they're that petty and they want to sabotage the classic feeling, so you're more appreciative of the game now, right? But I can confirm that the game didn't play like this, because this was the time I was playing the game legitimately night and day. And it just doesn't feel the same. And even when I look back at some of the WODs I have, that's just not how it looked like. Like, even like I said, like, just a lot of the characters feel so heavy and clunky, and it feels like I'm playing a workshop game mode. And that's realistically my only criticism. Now, if I take that criticism up and put it aside and talk about some of the positives, well, let's talk about some of the positives. I think revisiting old Sombra allows us to see a lot of different perspectives on the way that she used to play, the way she plays now. There was a lot more interesting skill expression to her back in the day. She definitely feels much clunkier. I was missing a lot of the quality of life changes that was there in 5v5. And I know she didn't have it back then. Like, Sombra was one of the characters I was like, yeah, I remember Sombra being this clunky. So that was completely fine. Mercy was one of the characters that, like, I felt like really awkward playing. She felt really unfun. Typically, unironically, I actually really enjoy playing Mercy, but I just didn't have fun. Like, it felt weird. Like, I could have sworn, like, there's a video out there that talks about the MOTH meta, and in the gameplay in that video, when you see Mercy's gameplay, she's so fluid, but in the gameplay over here, even as a spectator, even as like somebody like watching an enemy Mercy or your Mercy, they just look like they're so heavy, like as if the wings are holding her down rather than actually propelling her forward. So I know I'm talking way too much about the negatives here, but like, seriously, there's very little positive things. I mean, another positive things is the fact that the Season 9 HP pools are gone, and the Season 9 HP pools have done way too much damage to Overwatch than not. And I think, like, the more we revisit Classic, the more we realize that, man, the time to kill in original Overwatch pre the Season 9 changes with the health pools, is just so much better. The projectile sizes, like all your shots actually feel like you earned them. It doesn't kind of feel like there was a little bit of hand holding that happened within the game. So I really enjoy that. I like the fact that a lot of the characters had niches and places that they could excel in again, rather than feeling like generalists, like Junkrat, Mei, Symmetra. Like it felt like there was places for them to kind of fit into the game, and I felt like some of the knowledge we have now, when you take it to the way the game was back then, some things are playing a lot more differently. I think one of those characters is definitely Symmetra. People are filling her into that DPS slot, kind of a pseudo third support, but it's like already creating its own like mini 𝐒𝐻𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋, because she's got the shield generator and all that type of stuff. And I had a lot of different experiences. It was really fun. Like again, ignoring the technicality issues aside, the mode is actually still really fun, and I will be playing it more. But again, I cannot deny the fact that what is this heaviness that I feel when I'm playing it? I might be losing my mind. Guys, tell me, do you feel what I'm feeling when it comes to that weird heaviness, lag? I genuinely don't know what to call it. It just feels like I'm playing a workshop mode, and if I am playing a workshop mode made by the developers, that's kind of sad. Like you should be able to kind of iron these things out by yourself from a developmental standpoint, and push these out. Otherwise, don't commit to so many overwhelming projects, because they're just going to dip in quality over and over and over again. And that's kind of the problem with Overwatch right now. The quality has been dipping like crazy. Anyways, two next videos for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow is, number one, we're going to talk about how to improve Overwatch, because we need some positivity on this channel. But it's going to be a very important video, because we're going to call out all the problems with current Overwatch as well. And then number two, we're going to talk about why Season 9 is the most damaging season in Overwatch history. And we're going to kind of go from there. Now, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.